Hi, I'm Scott Humphrey, CEO of the World Floor Covering Association. Thank you for joining me for another Leadership Live. So last week we talked about what is holding you back, that fourth important question. The first three being, where are you now, where are you going, and how will you get there? And we talked about what's constraining you, what is keeping you from getting to where you want to go. I want to throw another thing at you today that often holds us back, and that is habits. Now, you remember several weeks back, I talked about a rut and a grave, and the only difference between a rut and a grave is a rut is a grave with both ends kicked out. People still die there going back and forth, doing the same thing over and over, not realizing there's a whole world out there to be experienced. Habits are usually formed by something that creates some kind of positivity to us. We go to work a certain way and we save some time, and we do it again and we save time. We begin to convince ourselves that is the way to do it. And the reality is, it's a way to do it. Listen, as long as you're controlling your habits, that's good. But when your habits begin to control you, not so good. And the world has a way of conditioning us to do things its way. It fits us into a mold so that we're all alike. And the reality is, leaders do not fit that mold. So what I want to do is ask you to do something outside of your comfort zone. Today I'm going to say a word, and I want you to say it and spell it with me 3 times. At the end of the third time, I'm going to ask you a question. I want you out loud to shout out the answer to that question. Yes, make the people around you wonder what in the world you're doing. We'll start with something really easy. I'm going to use the word spot, S-P-O-T. Again, we'll say it and spell it 3 times. At the end of the third time, I'll ask you a question. I want you to shout back your response. Here we go. Spot, S-P-O-T, spot, S-P-O-T. Spot, S-P-O-T. What do you do when you come to a green light? Now, unless you've seen this exercise before, you probably said stop at a green light. But the reality is, had I not conditioned you first, everyone knows that you go at a green light. But I did condition you. And that's what the world does. It conditions you into a certain way. So we do something, it works. We do it, it works. We do it, it works. And we begin to convince ourselves that is the way to do it. The problem is the world around you is changing. Technology is changing, and you must be willing to change and adapt with it. What got you there will not keep you there. Let's do it again. I'll give you a second chance. So this time we'll use the word Coke, Coke, C-O-K-E. We'll say it and spell it 3 times. At the end of the third time, I'll ask you a question. You shout back your response. Now you know what I'm doing. Coke, C-O-K-E, Coke, C-O-K-E, Coke, C-O-K-E. What do you call the white part of an egg? Yeah, many of you just call the white part of an egg a yolk, and generally that's the only part of the egg that is not white. Again, simply showing you how you can be conditioned to do or say something that really may not be in your belief system. Do not allow habits to control you, to hold you back. One more, give you one more chance. We'll use the word tree, T-R-E-E. It's got 2 of the same letters in it. It's a little bit easier to concentrate on. Tree, T-R-E-E. Say it and spell it 3 times. In the third time, I'll ask you a question. You shout back your response. Here we go. Tree, T-R-E-E. Tree, T-R-E-E. Tree, T-R-E-E. How many of each animal did Moses carry on the ark? Now, if you're like most people, you think you got me on this because you actually said 2 instead of 3. But if you listen to the question, I didn't ask how many of each animal Noah carried on the ark. I said Moses. And I conditioned you to start focusing so much on the word that you didn't hear the question. In fact, that's how a lot of us listen. We listen with the answer in mind rather than truly understanding what other people have to say. So how do you get out of the realm of the habit? Well, let me give you a story. So this drunk had too much to drink. He's walking back. He takes a shortcut back to his apartment and happens to go through a graveyard by a local church. It's raining terribly, and he's not watching, and he falls into a freshly dug grave. He jumps up and tries to get out, but the walls have gotten muddy and slick, and he finally just realizes he can't get out. So he just lays over in a corner. It's not long after that a gentleman comes by. He's got an umbrella in one hand, and he's got his phone in the other, and he's also taking a shortcut back to the apartment. He's sober as can be, but he also stumbles in because he's not paying attention into that same grave. He jumps up, slides back down, jumps up and slides back down, and realizes he can't get out. He starts to call somebody, and he hears a voice from over in the corner say, "Hey, you can't get out of here." But guess what? He did. Habits typically change because our motivation changes. We get tired of the pain that it's causing, or we see great reward by the change. I challenge you, find the internal motivation to control the habit and do not let the habit control you. When you can do that, then you're ready to lead.